Fausto Pugliese, president of Cyber Trading University.
Most people always focus on the past, where as a professional day trader, we just focus on the future. You can do very well in trading, and you don't have to have a good amount of movement for the stock to go up.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Fausto Pugliese on another episode from yesterday to today. Two great events. And we have Rande Howell who's going to talk a little bit about psychology, something very different that we used to have. You know, here we're talking about, we have some gurus, we got brokerage firms, we have professional traders, options, swing, day trading, whatever you want to say. But now we're going to really talk about, which is like the hardest thing I think most people have a problem with, that is psychology. You know, we take things personal. We get nervous. We get, there's a lot of things. I know Randy's going to break it down for us, which I'm really excited about, because psychology has a lot to do about being very successful in trade. So, Randy, welcome to the show. Great to see you here for the first time. So how's everything going with you?
It's going great. I'll tell you, it's I had a heart transplant 5.5 years ago, and I tend to look at it, if I'm alive and breathing, things are great. So I just take that attitude into life.
Well, you know what, Randy, it's pretty funny you say that, but a lot of our students are, a lot older, you know what I mean? And we do, obviously, our health. I mean, I just had prostate surgery just about 2 months ago and stuff like that. And it's like when you break 50, everything breaks, on you. So, but people realize that we got to work, we got to make money, we have to do what we have to do. And, but there is this big issue that people have, is when it does come to, psychology, discipline, knowing when to get in, get out of things and stuff like that. Life gets in the way. So, and I'd just like to have you on the show. And I'm great that you're here to explain to some of the people here, because they really, that is something that we haven't really talked a lot about. I try to teach it in my classes a lot, but like I said, it comes with experience. So tell us a little bit about, how did you get into this psychology business? I mean, you've been doing this since you started. I mean, you run a practice. What's the story here?
I was a clinical therapist and trying to figure out how to get outside of managed care, because it's really difficult to make good money with managed care. And so I had become a performance coach. And to be honest with you, I was doing a spiritual retreat with an Episcopalian group, and I had no idea how much spirit goes in one of those meetings, but it's liquid spirits. So, but at any rate, I was there to do a piece, and I did the piece, and guy comes up to me afterwards and says, "God, that was really amazing. And I understand you're a performance coach." I said, "Yeah, I am." And he says, "Well, I think I need your help." And I said, "Well, what business are you in?" And he says, "I'm a hedge fund manager." And I said, "What's a hedge fund manager?" That was 20 years ago. And that's how I kind of got introduced. And I started recognizing that traders were highly motivated, and they worked a lot better than clinical folk. And the guy that I was working with as a hedge fund manager ended up buying out his partners. And so he got a larger chunk and started referring people to me. And before you knew it, my partner, my wife, and I looked and saw that traders by far was the best clients we had. And so we just started directing it from there. And here I am. It's, who would have known?
Well, listen, it is, listen, mental health is a big issue, right? And just in general, but psychology, people don't really take advantage as much as can. Listen, it's like I always say, people get to become a deer in the headlights. They see opportunities, they freeze, they make mistakes. So that was 20 years ago. And now here you are today, 20 years later, still doing it and so on. So what have you found that, as how many traders is part of your, you would say you train, in your business? I know it's not just traders. You trade, you basically help all walks of life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so what's the percent of traders that you kind of work with?
Traders are about 60 to 70% of my business, and it's
60,
broken in.
70%.
Oh
Wow.
God, yeah, and
That's a
it's
lot.
broken into individual, and it's also group courses. Over the years, I kind of lost count how many people that we've actually engaged, but now, oh yeah, yeah, w traders are our best friends.
Yeah.
And
So tell me, like, how does somebody know that they have a problem? How does that start? Like, how do they come out and they reach out, or how do you reach out to them to tell them to listen? You need to talk to somebody.
well, couple things is one, you have a problem when you can trade and back test and trade without risk, trade paper and be successful. And then when you start going live, and it doesn't have to be very live, you don't have to be risking a whole bunch of capital. But when you see yourself falling apart, you have a problem that is going to have to get solved. And it's not going to be solved by being a bull pushing against it. It just simply gets worse as you push against it. You're pushing
Okay.
up against an emotional brain that is like an 800-pound gorilla. And when you tick it off, it really like that. And so that's the first thing is you notice that I have a performance problem. That if I can trade in paper, the only thing that's missing is the psychology of fear or aggression that I have that I'm bringing into the game. And most likely, the truth is the success formula that America and the world's known for. It's that hard work and persistence and not giving up produces success. You take that success formula into trading, and it's going to blow you up.
Uh-huh.
And you have to come to the moment where you realize that what I'm doing that has produced success in the past no longer works in trading. Trading apparently has a very different success formula than the rest of the world out there. And it does, because what happens, time is compressed in trading, particularly day trading, is that you make a mistake and it's in your face right there.
Uh-huh.
And walks of life, you can lie to yourself for a long time. My dad smoked Camel unfiltered cigarettes for 52 years.
Wow.
Everybody was telling him, Howard, you really ought to, there's nothing wrong with me. And he's a smart man and all like that. And finally, it clicked to him one day when he went to a doctor's office, and the doctor looked at him and said, Mr. Howell, you need to get your affairs in order. It took 52 years for it to catch up with him.
Wow. And
In trading, it happens, boom, right then.
So regarding about, and I'm glad that kind of metaphor. I mean, like, geez, I mean, we know smoking obviously down filters. Oh my God, that's some. Who would ever think of that? But and listen, it's like trading too. Some people, like, even when I teach them, they'll trade something that they don't realize what they're getting themselves involved in until they actually get into that trade, because some stocks are more volatile than they really can afford to trade. So when does somebody get to the point where they come to you? Is it that they get to a point that they're a deer in the headlights and not trading, or they're just losing, or they're just stuck on paper trade? When do they know that they need help?
Would they blown up enough capital for it to hurt?
That when it comes in?
That's when it comes in. And finally, it cuts through the illusion of their being in control. And they realize that they're going to have to find somebody and basically help them to do something. And we don't really want to see people before that happens, because they're not serious. They really think, oh, yeah, I can still do it. And they need to come to the moment is that they recognize that the brain that they have brought to trading is not producing a mind that will build success in trading. And when they finally get that, and the laws are pretty, the vast majority of traders, well over 90%, are going to be out of business in 3 to 4 years, because they're going to run out of capital, or their spouse is going to be so pissed off at them for burning through the capital they have and stuff like that, that they have to decide whether or not they want it, or whether or not they want the dream of Monday morning quarterbacking, and recognizing that doesn't work in trading.
So what have you found that why are you saying that? Why are you saying that 3-4 years? I sometimes think it's 3 months. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years is actually pretty long time if you made it that far. Like I would always explain to him, Randy, that when it comes to trading, I look at it as like hiring someone. I tell them, if you own a business and you know how hard it is to find employees. So you're going through resumes, you're going crazy, and you finally think you found the right person, and now it's your job to train the person, and now you're paying him. And obviously you're paying him to teach him, and it's obviously taking time away from you because you're putting the time into him to make your life easier. It shouldn't take 3-4 years. I mean, sometimes you'll know within 30 days or 2 months, say, I'm not paying this guy anymore. If you can't figure this out, it's over. And I'm a very straightforward person to tell him that, you know what I mean? And you'll know right away. But like in your situation, teaching them, what have you find that when you just kind of like say, hey, listen, you have a problem, you know what I mean? And how do you fix it? Like, what do you tell them to kind of like, if they want to make this successful, what do they need to do?
Well, first of all, again, it goes back to the pain. They have to
Okay.
experience the pain. And most of the people I work with, they will have tried all sorts of different teachers. They would have tried different this, different that, looking for the secret to success. And you can burn 2 years doing that. I mean, you can be burning capital, but at the same time, you're growing, you're learning, and I've got this system now. I've tried here. I've got this teacher, and ultimately, what you discover at the end of that, it takes 2 to 3 years for you to plow through that. And some people are more stubborn. And again, I've come to be okay with that. If that's what it takes to learn to become humble enough to realize that you need to declare that something is wrong and you need to find something to be able to help you through it. And what we do is I have nearly 300 videos on YouTube that go through a lot of this stuff. And I will have people that have watched every one of them. Okay. And that's crazy to me. But what they're doing is they're going in and saying, I'm finally getting it. What I hear is that, Randy, it made sense when I was talking to you. I finally understand what the problem is. And there is a reactive part of your brain that makes decisions, and an emotion can fire and be as chemistry in the bloodstream in 0.003 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's like a fear response. For that signal, for that information to get to the thinking brain on a good day, it's going to take 0.25 seconds.
Okay.
Now, emotions are they're on nanoseconds. They're already in the bloodstream. They already have you cranked up. You're ready to go. And meanwhile, the information hasn't got to the thinking brain. That's fundamentally what people have to learn to regulate and to calm down so that they actually have a fighting chance. Because basically the instincts, the survival instincts that we have brought into trading from our caveman days, they lived in a dangerous world.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know about you. I live out in the country, but I have never seen a lion. I haven't seen a bear. I haven't seen a tiger. Okay.
In a zoo I have, but other than that,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah, right. In a zoo. Well, a caveman used to live with those guys, and they saw us as really yummy to eat. And nature's thing is you bring in this this psychology that has been developed basically by evolutionary psychology, and it's wired in as trait. Okay, so you go there and you can be big tough all you want, but the truth is you still hit a particular event, and it's triggering it triggers it so much faster than the brain. And so it already has you out of control tilt before you actually have a chance to think about it. That's what happens a lot. And when people get that, they realize this isn't really their fault. It's not something about their manliness or their womanliness that is causing the problem. You got wired by history in a particular way, and you're asking it to perform in an environment that it's not built to do. And you kept trying to ram it down. And what it does is that caveman brain just absolutely just hijacks.
Okay.
And people in it, for me, I have seen very few people that it doesn't take 2 to 4 years for them to figure out that they're not going to solve this problem with the brain and mind that they brought from the outside world. And it takes a little while. And
So what exercises do they need to do? I mean, like, so listen, if I come to you and I think like, first of all, how do I know if I have a problem? Because I lost money, or, I mean, when it comes to a point where you think, well, I need to come and see Randy.
well, after 2 years, if you're not consistently profitable, something's wrong.
Okay. Is it the, and what have you find asking these people of what is wrong? Like, how do they know something's wrong?
Oh, it's this, the revenge trading, the over trading, the fear, the FOMO, all those are symptoms of a reactive brain. And understand it's supposed to be reactive. It was built to be reactive. That's overstimulated, gets triggered, but you do not have training to calm it down. And where it starts is with breathing.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. So what exercises do you tell somebody to, fix that problem? I mean, like, what exercises kind of get people back into a trading mode, or try to get more on the profit side? What kind of exercises do you recommend?
Well, the ones that I disclose without a feeling that I'm giving away intellectual property starts with breathing and mindfulness. But understand is that in the world that I live in, an emotion is not a feeling. It is not even psychological. It is biological. And it is called a biological action potential.
Mm-hmm.
And that action potential is meant to, when there is a change in the environment that the organism is in,
Mm-hmm.
the markets, the trader, automatically an emotion explodes. Automatically. Okay. And the thing is that a lot of this is reactive. If that trade goes against you, Fausto, they're not thinking, oh, I'm losing capital. They're thinking that the saber-tooth tiger has just sunk his 6-inch incisor teeth into me, and I have to fight to my last breath to get away. That's where they're at. They're not in thinking mode. Okay.
Right.
And again, it's already in the bloodstream. It's already firing. It already has you moving. So it's a biological action potential, and that your body is part of that emotion. And it just so happens that 4,500 years ago, the Indian yogas figured out that by breath, you can manage the intensity of an emotion. An exercise that I do often is I will work with people and say, I want you to follow my breath. We'll do a little exercise right here. And I want you to notice the difference once you do diaphragmatic breathing, even for 5 breaths. And all of a sudden, what they're doing is they're learning how to regulate the intensity of the emotion so that emotion does not hit a threshold moment and flood down and hit the amygdala and hit fight, flight, and blows out your thinking brain.
Okay.
That can be done by breath and breath alone.
Okay. Well, maybe you could show us a little bit of it. I know you had a little PowerPoint for everyone listening in really quick. Let's bring that up and share it really quick, and you could show us a little bit about how that works.
Well, that's a little later on in the. I tell you what, this is pretty simple. We don't need a PowerPoint for it. I can lead. I can talk to you, and it will become very obvious. Okay.
Okay.
So everybody want to do it?
I'm ready.
Okay. First of all, allow yourself to sit comfortably in your seat. A lot of people will sit there and they will start to be tense in their seat. I know I have a tendency for tension to form in the back of my back toward my neck. Notice those points in your body that generally happens. And as you do that, notice your breathing. Notice that as you breathe, most likely you're breathing with the top third of your lung. If you're doing that, you are forcing the body into fight flight already on high alert, ready to go to fight flight. What we want to do is we want to alter that. And what I want you to do, I want you to imagine that you have a bellows in your belly, and you're going to pull that bellows. And by pulling it, you take air from the outside into your nostrils, down your windpipe, down into the lower lobes of your lungs, then expand to chest, hold for a moment, and then release. And as you release, Let the tension in your body drain, 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 like honey flowing out of a jar. Move air into belly, expand to chest, hold, release slowly. And as you release that breath, let the tension in your body drain, drain, drain until you're loose and limp, loose and limp, like a sleeping baby. One more time. Notice your body. Pull air into belly, expand to chest, hold, release slowly. And as you release, let that tension drain, 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 like honey flowing out of a jar until you're loose and limp, loose and limp,
You put me to sleep.
like a sleeping baby. Well, that Fausto, that can be a problem. And what happens is a lot of people have such a high energy level that once they start bringing that energy down, they don't have a very good scope for falling asleep or something like that. But I actually train my traders are learning how to do that before they ever meet me. And they are training so that they're doing that while they watch their screens. Because do you know how they generally look when they're looking at the screens?
What's that?
You ready?
Yeah.
They're riveted in. They're if not hijacked, they're close to being hijacked. And the thing is that facial expression like that, you're looking at that and going, that is fight flight. And by the breathing and the management of that breath, you actually take it back off the burner.
Okay.
And you calm back down and you can think with a clear mind again. Okay?
That's all you have to do.
4,500 years ago, they figured this out.
Yeah. I think they do it in yoga too.
Yeah, they use a pranayama technique, and then they also take it to a level far beyond what I'm interested in.
Okay.
I'm interested in diaphragmatic breathing that allows you to control the intensity of the emotion. In yoga, they're also taking breathing to a much deeper level where they're invoking trance levels that would not be useful in trading at all, particularly you who falls asleep just listening to this, But they will produce, with their breathing techniques, they will produce a zone of where the metabolism has dropped so low that you'd fall asleep trading.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a place of where you want some tension because you have to be alert, focused, and ready. But at the same time, you do not want that tension exaggerated to the point where it's heading toward fight flight. So there's a delicate balance that each person has to find in the way they breathe to be able to make sure that they're enriching. And by the way, when you're pulling air into the belly, you're actually, the lobe of the lung is something like that, and we use about that much of it.
Okay.
Okay. And what you're doing is you're forcing air much deeper, and it's more available to the brain for making all those incredible cognitive decisions it's got to be making while trading, the computations and things like that. It's crazy. And if you cannot produce that calm mind, it's really hard to do. But that's the start. That's the start.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, sometimes I just took a big glass of orange juice because your vitamin C drops because I get tired, but the breathing obviously does help out.
You're actually talking with less pressure in your voice right now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I try to teach everybody also. I even try to teach a little bit of psychology part of it. You got to kind of work, controlling those losses, breathe, but over trade, it becomes a big, that could be an issue, and that could be a failure rate. I could see that. And then people, they lose their patience. Like you said, like they get a little too anxious and they got to learn how to calm down. Your heart starts pounding and whatever. And just, you have to take a step back. But let's go to that PowerPoint. I want you to show a little bit of your strategy, a little bit on the how you teach on the psychology part of it. Let me share that screen with you.
Okay.
We lost it. There we go.
Okay. Now, are you in control of this thing, or am I?
No, you are.
Okay. But this is the way it's supposed to look, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Bottom line is what I want everybody to recognize is that we like to think that the thinking brain is in control. The truth is 95% of the decisions you make on a daily basis are made by the emotional brain and has absolutely no input from thinking. And if you want a prime example of that, go to any Lowe's parking area and look at all the $100,000 plus pickup trucks in that car lot. Okay, you're going to find almost every man that looks like me has one of these guys. They got gray hair, they're a little overweight and stuff like that. And then you look at the truck and it's not doing nothing. It hasn't had any work. Yet at the same time, what they figured out a long time ago that if they jazz that thing up, men my age don't have a bunch of testosterone running in them. But you can get in that big truck, you feel very manly, you turn it on, and suddenly you have a substitute for testosterone. And that's the most wildly profitable thing that's ever happened to the car industry. Ford doesn't even make cars. They make trucks. But at any rate, you get there and you go, okay, they just sold to my reactive brain. My thinking brain had no idea. That's the way it looks. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at that and say, let's kind of like, now, I just tried to turn this slide and it's not moving.
You can just click on the one on the left, any of those screens.
The one on the left? Oh, well, I see on the left.
Click on 2 and it'll show up. Just click on the box.
You know something, Fausto? I don't see. I see my picture and I see the title screen. Tell me something. Can you take control of this and move the slide forward?
No.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I blew it. No, it's not changing.
Is it on a different screen?
I'm looking at the screen that you put up, and I see slides on the far left, but it's only got the picture of me sitting here, and it's got the first title slide.
You probably have it minimized on the bottom on a second screen.
Well, I tell you what, I'm certainly not going to be. Can tell me something. When you see this, can you see the second slide right underneath the first one?
Yeah, I see your PowerPoint. We see your PowerPoint, and then all the boxes on the left.
Yeah, I'm touching the second slide, and nothing's happening.
Yeah, because you're probably viewing the screen that we're on. You got to look on the other one. You probably have you're not on the browser. You got to look on the actual PowerPoint that you're sharing.
You
could X out of it and bring it back up. There you go.
Okay. And then I should be able to bring it back up.
Yeah. And then just click on where it says entire screen on the right.
There we go.
Here we go.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go.
Here is what I want you to begin to look at. And what you're going to notice is that successful trading is one you have to have a platform, and it has to work. I mean, how many people in here have ever had the moment where they want to get in, they press it, and all of a sudden they don't get the fill. You get that. You need a trading system that works. You also need a methodology. You need to have your risk management so that you are actually bringing an edge, theoretically, into the game. And that's right there where the vast majority of training occurs. But there's this other little part over here called trading psychology, the state of mind, that is a complete part of it. And I'll give you this analogy. Take a look at a Formula One car. Those things can go 250, 275 miles an hour. And you better have reflexes. You better have training to be able to drive one of those suckers. If you put me into that automobile, I'm going to hurt myself. So the thing is if I'm not trained, if I don't have the psychological edge, I'm not going to be able to drive the method edge. And this is where the big fallout happens. It's hard to teach that trading psychology section. And a lot of people really prefer not looking at it, because suddenly, once you get past the fluff, ultimately what you're doing is you're saying, what are the beliefs that I hold about my ability to manage uncertainty? The ones that I'm projecting onto the markets, what are they? And that is something that we don't like, that we don't want to do. And ultimately, what I want you to understand is that the brain you brought to trading is not going to work in trading. And it's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. You are the result of evolutionary psychology that has gone on for at least 100 million years, and it's human for the last 68 million years. That basically your thinking brain thinks it's in control. It thinks, I don't even know the emotions are there. Well, the emotional brain doesn't think, it reacts, it emotes, and it's on whether or not you like it or not. And we come very unprepared. And the deal really is this, is that what happens is there's this little almond shaped part of the brain called the amygdala, and it is the seat of emotion. And it is an enormously primitive part of the brain, directly in the middle of the brain. And it really is more associated with fight flight. It can be in other emotions, but it's the one that gets us in trouble when we start seeing opportunity that we need to get to right now, or we see something that is producing fear about, oh my God, what if I get gobbled up? That's the part triggering. Now, that's not the big gray matter that makes us human beings, but we share that amygdala with all the great apes. And understand, what we don't necessarily like to know about, that we, in fact, are a species of great ape that has become somehow far beyond something it ever imagined. And now what I want to do, this slide right here, if you're really truly interested in why you're having problems keeping your act together in trading, this is a slide. Once you grasp it, you realize, oh, this is what I've been fighting. And it's 125 million years old, and I'm probably 50 years old. Okay. First of all, inputs coming into the brain. That's that external input at the bottom left. And those are your sensory things. That's what you feel. That's what you see. That's what you taste, all that stuff. It's coming into the brain, and it stops and it's evaluated at the sensory thalamus. That's a very ancient part of the brain, and it's about action. And if you looked at it, that's actually a traffic cop at a big, huge intersection, and he's directing traffic. Okay, everything's going normal. Then an emergency vehicle comes into the scene. Suddenly, what that cop does is stops all traffic and lets the emergency through. Okay, that is exactly what a hijacking is. And if the thalamus actually hijacked, it's going to use what is known as the quick and dirty low road. And it's going to send the information right over to the amygdala, and it's going to go to fight flight response. That's what people do. When you tilt, that's exactly what's happening. However, if what you also notice that there is something called a high road, that sensory thalamus is sending information to your thinking brain, the sensory cortex. And there it processes, and it's the part that you want trading. It's the one that can think through and all that stuff. And then suddenly it's slow, it's accurate. And what happens is it keeps the amygdala from going overactive. So friends, that is exactly what happens when the brain experiences uncertainty. And it just so happens that we are in a business of managing uncertainty. So this circuit in the brain is going to fire all the time. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Okay. So let's take a look at this. one of the main things you need to grasp. What is an emotion? It's that at the very core of it, anytime that there is a disturbance to familiar pattern, there is an emotion that fires. It becomes a biological action potential. What's it composed of? The first one that's cited is arousal. If you've ever felt the body cranking up, all of a sudden, oh my God, that thing's getting away from me. Or, oh my God, this is taking off like a rocket. Look at me. And all of a sudden you feel yourself holding your breath. You feel yourself, the pulse is just pulsing, and your muscles are tense. That's arousal. Then what you'll notice is something that you have feelings. And that's the subjective experience of the emotion. The thing is, feeling is literally the chemistry of the emotion in the bloodstream, in the brain, altering the way you perceive reality. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And by the time it gets to feeling, you're toast. Unless you're controlling the kind of feeling chemistry. And what we're talking about is the chemistry associated with discipline, self-soothing, and patience. Those are the big emotions that you need to start feeling to alter the brain. And then there's motivation. What is that emotion telling you to do? Well, there are three things: attack, avoid, approach. Avoid is when you're scared. You get out of it becomes profitable. You're scared that it's going to go back on you, and you take that skinny profit. You don't get into the trade because, oh my God, I need more confirmation. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? And it's avoid. Or you see an opportunity you just can't wait to get in. And you see an opportunity or not, and you attack it. But approach, you're out of fight, flight, you're calm, you're curious, and you have a very completely different mindset. You can begin to see is that the attack avoid is overreactive, and what we want to do is produce approach. The next part of an emotion is the meaning, the belief that you have about your ability to manage uncertainty. And these are not the beliefs that you talk about having. These are the beliefs that you see demonstrated in your behavior as you trade. And the temperament is just simply genetics, and that's not something I have anything to do with. But to go from there, and this is what we have been trying to do for a long time. Understand, we have 2% genetic difference between us and chimpanzees. We have a common ancestor with us at a former developmental moment and the chimpanzee. And what you're seeing as we're evolving, we bring all this reactive stuff into the brain that we have right now. And it would be nice to say, quit following me. I don't want these instincts. But the truth is they're there, they're hardwired, and there's really nothing you can do about it by stopping it, but you can learn to manage it. And so the deal is you begin by having a better understanding of emotion and the trading mind. And what you grasp, there's a few things you have to grasp. All thinking is emotional state dependent. Is that there is no time that you do not have emotions unless you're dead. The emotions may seem calm or more reactive, but the thing is you're constantly in emotional states, and they're altering the way you perceive. And you discover that thinking, that as great as it is, ultimately all it's doing is making up alibis and stories about what the emotional brain's already decided. So what I'm proposing is a new relationship, a new partnership between your thinking brain and your emotional brain, because ultimately mastering yourself is true power. And out of this, you also have to grasp one other thing, is that you are not a rational being who deals with emotions. Okay? You are not. We are emotional beings who rationalize what the emotional brain has already decided. That's the deal. But we do like the reassuring lie, and unfortunately, we can keep lying to ourselves outside of trading. But the distance between cause and effect and trading are so tight that the lie breaks down. That trading account is going to tell you the truth whether or not you like it or not. And the deal out of all this is that you actually see the world through beliefs, and you do not see and then have beliefs. You have beliefs and then you see. Okay? Is you think about it, if you see a dog and it's coming toward you and its tail is wagging and stuff like that, you look at that and go, based on your history, oh, that's a really friendly dog. But if you've been mauled by a dog before, and you see a dog coming toward you, your beliefs about its potential are very different. And it creates the inner map that you see by. And it's the world that you act in and create. Unfortunately, what you discover is beliefs or assumptions that take on the force of truth. I mean, ultimately, when you really break down a trader and he finally is in one of those things where he's beating himself up, what's revealed is I'm a loser. I can't make this. And that is the belief that you need to change. You don't need to make them feel good. You need to change the belief. And ultimately, in trading, your beliefs about your ability to manage uncertainty create the health of your trading account. Okay? This is why you need to become emotionally intelligent besides knowledge intelligent. And so the question really becomes, how do you actually take this fear-based brain that grew up in the African savannas and figured out that if it saw a saber-toothed tiger behind every bush out there, it had a better chance of surviving than to recognize only one tiger is behind, oh God, the tens of thousands of bushes out there. So we're going to have to reconstruct the fear-based brain into a probability-based mind. That's the way it goes. Where does it start? Stress. Here, we've already talked about this. We have shown you in a very short period of time that altering the way you breathe and the way you hold tension lowers the biology of that emotion. So literally, the first step is that you are altering breath and tension. You calm the emotion down before it does damage. But the truth is, that's not enough. Is that emotional regulation's its job is to be able to allow you to get to the door of the mind. You need another tool to be able to get that door open and look inside and to make sense of what you see. And what you discover as observer in mindfulness, what you discover is that we become fused to thought. The guy on the left, what you're doing, I'm this, I'm that. It's very common in trading if you've ever just absolutely gone wild and done things and you say, what happened? I have no idea what happened. You fused with thoughts. On the observer mode, what happens is you and your thoughts are not the same. These are not your thoughts happening. You are not even having thoughts. Those thoughts are creating your experience. Until you grasp that, you're going to have a hard time in trading. But the deal is, you and your thoughts, you and your beliefs are not the same. What you are, is a potential organization of a self. And what we want to do is reorder that potential into a different self that finds probability perfectly okay to work with. And out of that, the other thing that you begin to recognize is that your brain is actually a community of rival emotional programs who duke it out for control of the real estate, and they actually create the self. So what happens is, without observation, you stay stuck in a historical self that most likely is not going to be able to trade. Okay? So this is where you're going. This is something that I actually need to train. And the question is that if you grasp that a brain is a community of rival emotional programs, the mind is a space that those emotional programs have been given voice as your thoughts in your mind. This is where it gets really interesting. And you start going, wow, this guy is talking wow, crazy stuff. Not really. Because what you discover is you're going to have an internal dialogue, whether or not you like it or not. You need to start looking at the internal dialogue, because there's both good and bad going on within that dialogue. Being mindless to the voice on the stage, leads to fear-based or impulsive-based trading. So now we've got this thing setting. Now we're going, oh my God, we're beyond just regulating the emotion. Now we're actually beginning to realize that we can build an emotional response to uncertainty that's very different than what we were born to. And that's where the third part is. You have to discover the internal dialogue that's going on behind you. I have one of those is, I don't know, have you ever beat yourself up? And have you ever just gone on a tirade about yourself after taking a loss or doing something stupid? The thing is, has it ever helped? That critical, that judgmental voice that you hear inside your head is what I call the inner critic. It's not going to go away, and you're going to have to learn to master it. But until you learn to actually recognize it instead of trying to paste over it with real simple visualizations that it doesn't exist, or really cool things to say that take you away from it, you're hiding from the battle that you're built to do. It's not you, but you can be talked into thinking something bad inside you.
Hi, Randy. Just not to cut you off, but we're coming up to another event that's ending at 12. That's going to be in 2 minutes. And the content you're showing is, I mean, you can sit here and talk all day on this stuff. This is amazing. And I know we're going to have you back in September. So could you just let everybody know how we can find out more about you, so everybody can get in and register for that link?
Yeah, they're two different places. Traderstateofmind.com is our website. And if you go there, you can get a free book, a free gift. Okay. And it introduces you to basically the way that I work. I also have a pretty strong presence for trading on YouTube. If you just type in Rande, R-A-D-E, Howell, H-O-W-E-L-L, and there's more information there. There are tons of presentations like this up there that are done. There's about 300 presentations there. It's very powerful. And basically what I'm teaching you is the tools of rebuilding the brain that engages the reality all around you. That's what I'm doing.
And if everybody wants to, if you have your phone also, you could take your phone, scan that QR code that we have up on the screen, and we have that link in the chat, and we'll get you all the information to get a hold of Rande, and we're getting into that course. And also, once again, he will be back here doing a full presentation and teaching you guys a little more psychology. Because listen, I think, Rande, what you're doing is a gift. There's not too many people what you do. People really know how to do it. Because I do it myself, and I'm not as good as you. I wasn't trained to be like you, but I just teach people how to trade the market. But it is about, I would say, out of all the gurus that we have here, they all say the same thing, Rande. It's about a 70%. We trade 30% the same, 70% it's all psychology, where it comes into it. So, but thanks again for being here. And everybody, like I said, any last minute advice you can give everyone before we go?
Oh, next time you trade, take your phone and record what you're doing, or have a camera record what you're doing and look at it. You will see it's scary when you see yourself trading, and how easily triggered and hijacked you are, and the need for training, at least in emotional regulation. Just find out.
That sounds right. You know what? That's a good way of doing it. And you watch yourself and you go from there. I like that. I'm definitely going to try that. And my class is coming up at the end of the day. So everyone, thanks again for another episode. We'll have this recording in shorts for you, for everyone to listen and take up Rande on his offer. And we'll look forward to having him here to do a full presentation, teach you guys a little bit more in our Cyber Expo that's coming up. Thanks, Rande. Thanks, everybody listening.
Thank you.
And
it's
we'll
been
see
fun.
you then.